Good evening and welcome to the Pompey Politics podcast. It's a PMQ special. We're back just as the World Cup begins to see the combative nature of politics that everyone loves to see on a Wednesday evening. Good evening, Simon.
Good evening, Ian. The world is a very different world since we went away.
Yes, they say a week's a long time in politics, and it's probably been 6 or 7, so plenty to come up. But obviously tonight it is. I think we got the reserves playing tonight, haven't we?
Yes, we have. So we've got David Lammy standing in for the Prime Minister, which he explains actually in a minute. So shall we just get straight in and let him do it?
Let's just dive in and see how it all went today.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, I've been asked to reply on behalf of the Prime Minister, who's attending the G7 summit in Evian. May I first pay tribute to two giants of the Labour Party, Roy Hattersley, who was a formidable deputy leader who never stopped fighting for a more equal and fair society. And we also remember our beloved colleague, Jo Cox, and honour her memory for working to bring our communities together, celebrating the decency and the compassion that defines this country. I also want to remember the 72 lives lost at Grenfell Tower. The legacy of that appalling tragedy must be a safe, secure home for everyone in this country.
We come to the Shadow Secretary of State, Claire Coutinho, acting for the official opposition.
On behalf of this side of the House, can I extend our condolences to the families of Jo Cox and Roy Hattersley. I know how much pain we felt on these benches when we lost Sir David Amess, and we share their pain today as well. I also pay tribute to those who lost their lives in the Grenfell Tower fire, and I'd also like to congratulate Scotland on their stunning win and wish England the very best of luck for tonight. Now, Mr. Speaker, it is a great privilege to be standing here with one of the few survivors of Labour's original cabinet, who hasn't resigned on principle or been sacked in disgrace. I feel honoured. So can he start by telling me this? Why is the Labour government happy for Britain to get its oil and gas from Russia or Qatar, but not from Aberdeen?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, can I welcome the Shadow Energy Secretary to the dispatch box. It's always good to hear from someone who was the heart of the Treasury during the biggest fall in living standards on record. The Children's Minister in government that plunged hundreds of thousands of children into poverty, and the Energy Secretary who showed an unwavering commitment to the cause of net zero, even though she's now forgotten that. Don't believe everything you read in the papers. The Prime Minister and the Energy Secretary have been discussing cutting bills by over £100. We've got our Warm Homes plan lifting millions of families out of fuel poverty and securing enough energy projects to power 23 million homes. She was the Energy Secretary who left our country exposed to global fossil fuel markets. We're delivering clean energy security.
Mr. Speaker, bills came down £500 under me. They've gone up £300 under these guys. And this is nonsense. His party are banning new oil and gas licences in the North Sea. And these guys over here, they're no better, because this is the same policy that the SNP championed for years. It is pointless virtue signalling, and it's destroying well-paid jobs. So can he tell the House how many jobs have been lost in Aberdeen since Labour came to power?
Deputy Prime Minister.
I remember when the Energy Secretary championed net zero. She said in 2023, we cannot prosper, nor can our children flourish if we don't decarbonise energy. The Tories used to believe this 3 years ago. Now she's forgotten because they're desperately chasing reform, and we know it. Over 700 jobs were lost during the last 10 years when they were in power. Production fell 70% 5% over the last 25 years. We've secured over £900 billion worth of investment to support more jobs by taking control with renewables, and there are over 100,000 jobs in Scotland supported by clean power. We're building on that, led by the Great British Energy, headquartered in Aberdeen.
So I think we'll just pause there for a minute. What we think so far, how's Lammy doing compared to how Starmer normally does?
Well, it's a funny one. I mean, he opened in the same vein of I'm not even going to engage with the question. So it was a bit of you smell worse. I've got to be honest. Who is she?
So she's the Shadow Energy Secretary, Claire Coutinho.
No, I've never heard of her.
I'm not familiar with the name or the face. My apologies.
No. Well, I guess it's again, it's another. It's one of these kind of weird, strange, polarizing debates, isn't it? Which is that, well, shouldn't you take some of the oil out of the North Sea? What, you mean you hate green power and want to run cars based on lines? And it's like, right, okay. No, it just seems. I mean, there is this. I guess is it a culture war thing about power? I don't know, but
I think some are clearly trying to make it a divisive point or to make it a wedge issue, aren't they? To make on that kind of argument, but rather than addressing the actual point of the argument, we try to make the point scoring of you're just trying to copy reform, and I don't know whether that's. I mean, there are lots of things he might have said about fossil fuel industry donors and all sorts of other things, but I don't know. I just find it kind of week after week. It's I'm not going to answer the question, but I'm just going to say how rubbish you are and compare you to reform instead. It's not an answer.
And I think for me, Simon, this is one of those kind of, this discussion came up on Pompey Politics, and I still kind of, I furrow my brow because there's a bit of me that says, right, everyone knows that renewables and or nuclear is the future. Everyone's got that memo. Everyone knows that. And if they don't, well, do you know what I mean? They're 5G chips and your mobile phone will fry your brain tin hat foil people. So if we all kind of broadly agree that renewables is the future, we've just got to run as fast as we can towards them. The ... comma and the but we're probably a couple of decades or a few decades away from that. And in the interim, we're going to need oil.
But I think there's a danger of us kind of
I guess
falling into the conversation that could be or should be had, but isn't made in favour of point scoring. So should we let them carry on?
I guess my point is that actually probably people want to understand, if not, why not?
Yes, and that's why it deserves a decent answer.
This is the chance. Yeah, this is the chance to answer that question.
Yeah, but why is it not? And I could give all sorts of answers that I've heard from people that know what they're talking about. But nonetheless, let's listen to the rest of this.
Mr. Speaker, let me help him out. 1,000 people are losing their jobs every month in places like Aberdeen South because of Labour's policies. They say those oil and gas workers can get new green jobs, but what they don't say is those salaries pay half as much. So can he tell the House how he would feel if the government forced him to take a 50% pay cut?
Every Prime Minister.
The Honourable Lady used to be an investment banker, and she's got her facts wrong. Oil and gas is coming out of the North Sea 24/7. In the first 3 months of this year, 52 million barrels of oil came out. 44 million barrels equivalent of gas came out. We're not turning off the taps. It's part of a mixed economy that will support existing oil and gas fields throughout their lifespan, making changes to exploit neighbouring fields. But we do want to create more jobs, and that's why we're going to continue to invest in renewables. She knew this 3 years ago. She's changed her mind because she's chasing them.
Mr. Speaker, I asked him about pay cuts, and they should care, because if the Mayor of Manchester gets his way, I'm pretty sure half the front bench are going to be getting a pay cut pretty soon. Mr. Speaker, this is serious. The world is getting, Mr. Speaker, the world is getting more dangerous. Yet last week, the Prime Minister asked the Energy Secretary to help fund the defence of our country, and he ghosted him. Let me repeat that. The Energy Secretary refused to meet the Prime Minister on a matter of national security. Why hasn't he been sacked?
Prime Minister.
Stop reading the papers, I'd say to the Honourable Lady. I certainly don't like papers. Mr. Speaker, when the Defence Investment Plan is published, it will set out, this is important, it will set out how every government department is contributing to defence, including the Energy Department. We will always put national security first. The party opposite still don't get it. Families worried about their bills going up because of a war in the Middle East that her leader said she'd jump into feet first.
There was a semblance of a decent answer, but he couldn't help himself but point score at the end of it.
Starting to come, wasn't it? Starting to come. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm surprised that she hasn't gone harder on the defence angle, because obviously the Minister of Defence resigning and his the other chap alongside him who has experience in the military also exiting stage left. I do wonder whether they might be saving that one for Sir Kay next week when he's there in person. But yeah, it's and I guess it is that piece where it's all your fault. Well, there is an element of the boom time for North Sea oil and Aberdeen, and that we're over the peak of it, aren't we?
Yes.
So there are going to be fewer jobs, and it was the land of milk and honey, and if you had those skills, you could basically demand your own salary. Well, those days have gone. So,
Yeah, but if those anyone with a modicum of sense could see that there would be coming a point where the oil fields would be running dry.
Yeah.
So I just feel like a better counter is, what were you doing to help people transition out of that, instead of hoping that that the existing, those jobs would kind of remain free. It just kind of reminds me of the whole kind of argument about the decimation of communities with the shutting of the coal pits in the 80s. Of it's one thing to recognise that an industry may or may not have a future, but it's another thing to just leave people on the scrap heap and not do something. So someone do something instead of arguing about whose bloody fault it was. Just, you're in charge now. What's your answer?
Yeah, and it's I guess it speaks to sometimes the short-sightedness of government, doesn't it? It is that piece where, when we look at the move towards electrification of vehicles, I know Rachel from accounts came up with some absurd, we'll find a way to charge you 3p a mile. But, the less petrol we use, the more efficient the cars get. I mean, my hybrid, we have to fill it up regularly. I've had it nearly 2.5 years and we've filled it up 4 times, I think. So we have to fill it up every 9 months. So the Treasury is not getting a huge amount off of us, and the more people that go that way, the more that revenue stream will decrease. It's You know,
Yeah.
it's not like you couldn't see it coming.
No, but there's also a whole kind of argument being pushed by the fossil fuel industry, which quite understandably wants to maintain the prominence of the fossil fuel industry, that are to some degrees lobbying, but to other degrees spreading information that would kind of make the tobacco companies in the 70s and 80s blush. But shall we have a bit more and see whether you might have been on the right track about defence? Let us know what you think in the comments, guys.
If everything's so hunky-dory, why did half his defence team quit last week? Mr. Speaker, they won't find the money to keep our country safe, so let's go through some of the things they can find the money for. Millions of pounds to build solar farms in the Congo, tens of millions of pounds on an experiment to dim the sun, and they are turning down £25 billion in tax revenue from the North Sea to please their out-of-control Energy Secretary. Does he really think that any of that is more important than defending our country?
Deputy Prime Minister.
We've said that more spending on defence is our number one priority in this spending review and the next spending review. But she wants to talk about resignations. Let's just remind ourselves. The Tory Defence Secretary that resigned in the last government, the member for Stone, who was sacked for breaching national security. The Tory Defence Secretary, Michael Fallon, who resigned over sexual harassment. The Tory Defence Secretary who admitted hollowing out the armed force services for 14 years, that was Ben Wallace. We've got a Prime Minister securing jobs and investment in the G7. We've got a Chancellor raising the minimum wage. We've got an Education Secretary cutting costs for childcare. And we've got an Energy Secretary cutting energy bills by over £100. We're proud of that record.
If everything is fine, why is he here? Let's face it, this is, he wasn't here last week, was he? Let's face it, this is a government on life support. And what's their grand plan now? They want to, let me get this straight, they want to make the job-destroying Energy Secretary Chancellor. They want to bring back the former Transport Secretary who resigned for nicking phones. They want to replace him with the former Deputy Prime Minister who resigned for dodging taxes. These are all pointless distractions. So here's a better idea. Why don't they cut welfare, fund defence, make energy cheap, and back the North Sea?
Deputy Prime Minister.
It's thin gruel. It's very thin gruel, Mr. Speaker. I'm here like she is because I'm standing in for the Prime Minister and the leader of my party. I'm proud to serve this Prime Minister. I'm proud of what this Labour government is delivering. More rights for working people, the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation, the biggest boost to defence spending since the Cold War, and lifting more children out of poverty in a single term than any British government in history. The party opposite can make all the noise they want. They don't want to talk about the economy because it's growing. They don't want to talk about the NHS because waiting lists are falling, and they don't want to talk about immigration because they lost control of our borders and net migration is down under us 82%. They had their chance, they blew it. We're building a stronger, fairer Britain.
So I'll pause there before we go to Daisy Cooper from the Lib Dems.
I think you finished strong there, Lemmy. I like the phrase "rather thin gruel."
But it is kind of like to try to say
local lad.
You're only, to try to imply. I don't know what that's about. Are you trying to imply that he's here because basically Keir Starmer can't be bothered or is too scared to kind of come to P&Qs? No, he's at the G7. Everybody knows this. Why are you trying to make that something that it isn't? I don't get it.
Yeah, well, I guess it's. I mean, David Lammy is not often trusted to speak in public, is he? He is known for putting his foot in it. So
He's
yeah,
busy
I
mates
mean,
with JD Vance. How can he? He can't be that bad.
yeah. No, I mean it was a reasonable sparring session. I mean there's that element of, and it is that, both want to talk about the things that the other one doesn't. Waiting lists are in, NHS waiting lists. I can see why you'd want to talk about that. They're good numbers. It is that piece of it's a balanced piece because I think when your defence secretary resigns because your defence spending review, which should have been published last autumn, still hasn't been, and it's jammed tomorrow, I think the response of, well, 3 of yours resigned and they were all a bit rubbish. It kind of, that is a little bit, we sometimes talk about whataboutery. That is just on the A game, isn't it? Of yeah, but yours were rubbish.
But there was also a sensible answer opportunity that was missed. Make the case of why drilling those extra licenses in the North Sea won't reduce energy prices, because it won't make any difference to the overall supply on the energy market. If that's your policy and that's your point and that's your reason for making that decision, make that case. Make those arguments as to why this is. You said it yourself earlier on. You've got to make the case as to why this is the right decision, instead of just taking lob after lob of, you hate petrol.
Yeah, you were rubbish as well. Yeah. So yeah, it was a pretty sallow exchange, and my wonderful admiration for Daisy Cooper and how much I rate her. So I'm on the edge of my seat now to see whether Daisy does it better.
Okay.
Daisy Cooper, Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself and my party with the Deputy Prime Minister's tribute to Jo Cox? We extend our condolences to her friends and family and to all those of Roy Hattersley as well. And can I join with the Deputy Prime Minister in remembering the horrific tragedy of Grenfell, and that those families still are awaiting justice. Mr. Speaker, can I congratulate all those named in the King's Birthday Honours List, congratulate Scotland and wish good luck to England for this evening. Mr. Speaker, the Right Honourable Member for Rawmarsh and Conisbrough is respected across this House. When he says that he was forced to make decisions that could make the country less safe, we should all take heed. It is now becoming clear that the Treasury's refusal to consider new ways of funding defence is undermining our national security. So will the Deputy Prime Minister join with us to make the case in government for new defence bonds, which could raise £20 billion over 2 years to defend our country?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, can I say to the Honourable Lady that we do believe that we should work with our allies to join up defence procurement and funding. That's why we're exploring the most effective mechanisms for multilateral cooperation. And of course, it's a topic of discussion for the Prime Minister at the G7.
Daisy Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're pleased to hear that the government is looking at this, but they need to act far quicker. Mr. Speaker, it is now more than 5 years since the Prime Minister originally set his famous red lines on Europe when he was in opposition. No customs union, no single market. But since then, the world has changed. Putin has launched a war on our continent, an unreliable Donald Trump has returned to the White House, and here at home the cost of living has got worse and worse. So does the Deputy Prime Minister agree that the government should rip up those red lines now, or is that just another job to be left to the next Prime Minister?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, I was proud to be the Labour Foreign Secretary that returned to the meeting of European Foreign Secretary and work alongside my colleague in the Cabinet Office to ensure that we were at that summit, and it was successful last year. And I've just confirmed the next summit will take place on the 22nd of July. Our red lines remain, but we're focused on an SPS deal to cut prices on the shelves, a youth experience scheme, and cutting red tape for exporters.
Okay, so I only, as for time purposes, I've only focused on the deputy leaders of the representatives, rather than all of the other. There were other points made by several other contributors and questions, but unfortunately, we've got to cut somewhere. So
Yes.
I saw that you were overjoyed by the mention of customs union.
Yes. Yeah, let's focus on the positive first, because I thought it
Okay.
was a very interesting question about which again, Lammy completely ignored, about the, defence bonds. There is this element. There's a lot of false patriotism about at the moment, and I'm sure as we go into a Football World Cup, there will be more patriotism than you can shake a stoat at. But obviously, the ability to buy into a defence bond for the defence of the nation as an investment tool is a real chance for people to put their money where their mouth is. So I thought that was quite interesting, and I was hoping that when he completely ignored that, that there might have been a follow-up on that, because it's not something I'd heard before. And it
But I think they've mentioned it in previous PMQs.
Oh, I just haven't. It
hasn't registered.
It hasn't registered. So I was really interested in that, and I thought, here we go.
I don't get how some. I mean, it's been done in other countries.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are many that might kind of observe that at the time when other countries like Germany decided to change their fiscal rules in order to accommodate greater defence spending because of the change in the situation on the European continent and elsewhere, that Rachel Reeves is stubbornly stuck to those, basically to the corner in which she painted herself.
Yep.
And that kind of also then allows the Tories to then make the case of, well, if you want to spend money on defence, you should cut money on benefits, of course, forgetting that about 40% of the benefit spend goes on pensions. But,
without wishing to unpick all of that, it's never a binary. It doesn't have to be a binary conversation, does it?
It doesn't have to be one or the other. You're absolutely right.
No.
There's more than one way to get the money. Yeah.
And it's that element of, a lot of people on the left don't like millionaires and billionaires. Well, they still get a state pension. So, it seems mad to give people a state pension with one hand and then take it back in taxation in another, with paying two sets of accountants to do both. But yes, my utter despair was at the Daisies. Ooh, can we go running back to the EU and get into a customs union and give them all of our money? It's I know I'm paraphrasing for comic effect, but I just find the whole let's go running back to the EU and everything will be well just such a tiresome trope that I just I
won't kind of follow that in.
No, and I know I'm being provocative for comic effect.
I'm letting that one sail by. So a bit of a mixed bags from a DPMQs.
Yes. Yeah, that sounds wrong. We're not doing that.
DPM, it doesn't quite roll off the tongue.
Walk away from that.
But it's okay. Step away from the keyboard. Not that many questions are actually answered. Some actually sensible things. It boils the brain as to why. It seems that the government is struggling, despite its majority, to get lots of things through because of its own backbenchers. But stuff needs doing. Why don't you get across? Am I too naive to think you get a cross-party to consensus? Get all of the parties together and say, okay, look, we're all going to have to take a bit of a hit. Where are we going to find the money to spend on defence? Because we all know that we need to.
Yeah, and I guess but isn't it part of the tensions within the Labour Party at the moment? They're paralysed by fear. And I guess it leads us into our exciting show, which we'll have on Sunday, because by Friday we will know if winter is coming, and the King of the North rides. The King of the North rides south towards Parliament. All hail the new King, Or, in terms of egg on their face, if they don't win Makerfield, the government couldn't win a game of tag in a telephone box. Where do they go from there? I know Wes has said that he will be launching his leadership campaign
Well, he
next
says
week.
he's got the numbers now, doesn't he?
He does say he's got the numbers, but there's an element of, if it goes hideously wrong Thursday, I guess it's that element of, do you kick it all up in the air? I guess that's for us all to kick about on
For another
Sunday.
one.
A new pod, so new faces. So you've been listening to the Pompey Politics Podcast, Deputy PMQ special, although it's not a special, we do it every week now. I've been Ian Tiny Morris.
And I've been Simon Sainsbury, so do join us at 6:27 on Sunday. Give us a a follow, comment, or subscribe on YouTube to make sure you get a notification. Hit that bell so you know that when we're next live, or sign up for our newsletter. Thanks very much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Don't forget to like, follow and comment on Facebook, or comment and subscribe on YouTube. Find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, X, YouTube, Threads, LinkedIn.